What's up, everyone? Welcome back. You're listening to InCamp Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Hepler. Today, I have a pretty awesome show for you. It's about resilience. It's about strength. It's about awesome hunting stories. It's about how hunting can parallel your life in a lot of good ways, and it can make an end goal that makes you see some things you haven't seen before. So I think this is probably one of the most awesome podcast that I've recorded in a while, but this guy will hunt anything and everything in any way possible. And he has done private land to the hardest backcountry slog you can ever imagine in Utah or whatever state you name. He's done it or will do it. His story and the way he's molded into the hunter he's become. You can go on his YouTube channel now and you can see some pretty impressive stuff, but he started from a ground zero, just like you and me. I think you're going to love his story. I think you'll love the way that hunting and putting out the content that he's putting out has shaped his life. I think that you're going to appreciate the way that faith has shaped his life. So if you would, at the end of this, share it with a friend, somebody that needs to hear it, because I know there is. If you also would, leave InCamp Podcast a rating or a review wherever you listen. It helps this show reach more ears. And I can't tell you, but I can't tell you all in person, but I really, really do appreciate all the support. I appreciate the reaching out with messages and comments and all that stuff. It's been really great to get to know all of you. So if you would do that for me, please. I'm not going to run any ads on this podcast because you just need to hear all of it. So I hope you enjoy this show. This is InCamp Podcast. I've got a really cool guest on this week, Hunter McWaters. Anytime you say Mick anything, it's kind of like... He's got it.
Yeah, a lot of times people ask me if that's my real name, and it is my real name.
Yeah. It's Hunter's your middle name, right?
Hunter is my middle name, but I've been called that by my parents since birth. So, not sure exactly why they did that. And then I did that to my son. We call him by his middle name. And ultimately, it just is really annoying on like first days of school or like legal forms, or you never know which one you put. Like, it's annoying, but that is my name, Hunter McWaters.
That's awesome, dude. Can you I haven't had you on, and actually I just kind of learned about you, and I'm like, oh, like this guy, you've been around, like, and I should have heard you because I listened to Dan Staton's podcast, and I follow that window too, and I kind of picked your stuff up because I was like kind of looking for a real good faith-based guest, and you kind of popped up across my algorithm, and I'm like, man, cool. I gotta get this guy on, and it's kind of cool because I found you that way,
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you you tell me a little bit about yourself, Hunter?
Yeah, man. So I'm East Coast like you. I grew up in Virginia Beach, Virginia. My dad started me, waterfowling and taking me dove hunting since, I was probably 6, 8 years old. I think 6-ish. Yeah. I got my first youth model 870 20 gauge when I was like 8 years old. And I remember I actually shot a dove with that thing the first time we took it out, which is like, dove aren't that easy to hit. So like an 8-year-old with a 20 gauge hitting a dove, that was pretty cool. I'm not tooting my own horn, but it just seems like this is something I always gravitated towards. It's my name. I always just loved it. Like, no matter what, like, I remember my dad in the early days, we didn't get to hunt a lot because my dad was working a lot and we didn't have our own property or anything like that. And we lived, in the suburbs, but every year he would at least get us a couple, like, outfitted like duck hunts just to like introduce me to it.
Yeah.
And I remember like the night before, it would be like literally like as exciting for me as Christmas, like pulling out the stuff from the hunting closet, we called it, and like it had like a certain smell, and like
I think
could never sleep, and I was just like lightning out of bed the next morning.
Yeah.
And then when I was about 14, we just kind of, I don't believe in accidents, but just weren't really looking for it, but just got permission on this amazing, beautiful piece of property on the eastern shore of Virginia, which is a really magical place for me anyway. It's this tiny peninsula that's part of Virginia at the end of the Delmarva Peninsula. So you got the Chesapeake Bay on one side and you got the Atlantic Ocean on the other. It's just a little strip of land. It's pretty much all ag land and like woods and stuff. So
Yeah.
and like, cool marshes and stuff. So it's really cool place, and tons of deer. Like, I don't know about now, but when I was growing up there, like there weren't any coyotes. Like I never even saw a coyote out there. And so like the deer were just, I mean, from an agricultural point of view, probably like damaging and terrible, but like as being a hunter, it was like amazing. Like,
Yeah.
always, and a great place for a young hunter, because I never got bored. It was never like, am I going to see a deer today? It's like, how many deer am I going to see? And like, will I get a shot at one?
Yeah.
So that first night ever, and my dad had introduced me a little bit before this to bow hunting. But I'd never seen a deer like with my eyes while bow hunting. But then we went to this property. The first time I sat on the stand, I remember I was like 14 years old. Weirdly, I still remember, but I saw 14 deer come out in this little patch of beans, and they were just outside of bow range where I couldn't really shoot. Of course, I was praying that they'd walk closer, but I just watched them for like hours, and like that night will always just stick in my mind. It's like that's when I knew. I was like, this is. I still love duck hunting and goose hunting, and I did then as well. But it's just something about that. I was just hooked. Since then, I was all in on my ideal Friday night was like Pizza Hut pizza and a Drury Brothers VHS. And
I remember those times.
Oh yeah, and I've just recently got to do a podcast with Terry Drury, and I was out at an event with his farm manager the other day, and so it's kind of cool, like run into some of those guys now later. But I was just obsessed with bow hunting whitetails, and so that was my thing all through high school, college. We can get into it a little bit more, but kind of veered off the path and got into some darker times of my life, and just different stuff there for a while, but always hunted. When I came out of that, I wanted to get into Western hunting. I've always had this real deep sense of adventure and like travel, and always loved that. And so I wanted to get into it. I started looking at getting like an antelope tag out west, and I was just like, I was overwhelmed by it's not really that bad. I don't want to discourage people, but like I got overwhelmed by the complexity of it. Plus, I was coming out of a kind of a crazy part of my life, so I didn't have a whole lot of bandwidth. But I kind of got discouraged, and I was like, man, I don't know, maybe I should just stick to deer hunting or whatever. That same year, an acquaintance from like years ago, like friend of a friend from high school, I didn't really know that well, invited me on like a DIY walk-in caribou hunt actually in Alaska, which is like a crazy place to start. But it was like 8 months before that, and he invited me to go, and I was like, yeah, this is perfect. So he really helped me learn a lot about setting up a rifle, shooting, because I'd never rifle. Where I grew up, you couldn't even hunt with a rifle legally. It was bow and shotgun only. I didn't know anything about shooting rifles. So like to me back then, 200 yards was like a pretty long shot.
Yeah.
And anyway, so he helped me out. Then I just started absorbing, just voraciously and taking podcasts, YouTube videos. A lot of it was podcasts. And this was kind of like almost like I would say like the golden age of like hunting podcasts. Like there was just so many of them, and they were just popping out like every week. And most people release like 3 episodes and quit. But anyway, so yeah, then we went on that first trip, and it was really a huge tool for me because I'd never hunted out of a backpack. I never even combined really camping with hunting much, let alone like hiking in and like staying, and so it was a huge learning curve of the gear, the fitness, everything. So it was really like a huge tool for me. And a lot of guys, if you're trying to lose weight or get in shape, they like maybe you'll sign up for a race in a year, or like they have that like kind of carrot thing. For me, it was this hunt, and like I'd already started to get back in shape. And before this, I was like obese. Like I was literally, I'm not like exaggerating, I was 250 pounds, like zero muscle. I'm 6 foot tall. I was fat, and I started making some changes, but this was like, I need to train for this. And and kind of really started getting in gear. So it was like a huge tool for this like catalyst of life change. Obviously like God and my family too first, but this was like a big piece and like a motivation, a reason to get up and go to the gym and watch what I was eating and stuff. So yeah, went on that first trip, and I was like, just the combination of my love for hunting and then like combining that with like being immersed in the wilderness for like days on end and the challenge of it spiritually, mentally, physically, I was like, this is it, man. This is what I want to do. So as soon as I got back, I started buying preference points everywhere I could and started the podcast. And I thought I could have kind of a unique voice in the space, being a Eastern guy getting into Western hunting, and then also talking to guys about Christianity, or even if they're not Christian, about spirituality, and just raising that question with guys, because I felt like there were a lot of strong believers in the space that didn't really talk about it much, or there's also a lot of LDS folks in the space, in the Western hunting space, and so they are a little bit more private sometimes about their faith. They don't really talk about it too much. But I was like, I want to like have this show where we talk about Western hunting. Anybody will enjoy it. Anybody will like it. But I'm going to ask guys about their spiritual walk and their faith and even their spiritual practice. Maybe even challenge them a little bit on it. And but I didn't want it to be like a Christian podcast, air quotes. Like, didn't want to be preachy. I wanted anybody to want to listen to it. And then maybe those guys, like, they won't listen to a quote unquote Christian podcast, but if they hear a cool podcast and then hear this badass guy that they respect in the hunting community talk about, oh yeah, I pray, I believe in God, like this is what then maybe that'll kind of start them on that path. So, which I truly believe is the most important journey you can go on in your life. So that's kind of how I started off. And then I had a background in TV production, so I just kind of melded the two as the podcast began to grow, and I made contacts in the industry. I started filming some stuff. Then I got into the TV show on Sportsman Channel, which season 4 just premiered this Monday, 2 days ago, and about to start dropping the new season 4 episodes here in about 2 weeks, starting July 10th or 9th of the new season. So yeah, just melded my love with my kind of skill and also love for visual storytelling. And since then, like, God has blessed it. I've been able to get some amazing partners on board that believe in me, believe in the vision, and mainly it comes back to God, and all things are possible to him that believe is a big step of faith. But God says, if you delight in him, he will give you the desires of your heart. And all who seek, find. All who ask, receive. Like, all who seek, find. All who ask, not like some might. So Jesus at all. And but you got to have faith, and you got to believe, and you got to make the steps to get there. And he will reward that, and he has. So God is good. And life is good, man. That's I don't know, that's probably a lot longer than you were hoping for, but that's it in a nutshell.
Dude, that's exactly what I was hoping for. You said so many good things, and I'm kind of like jotting down notes because you're jogging some questions. But the one thing that you said that I think is so important, I'm kind of the same way. Like I'm a Christian, and I want to share my faith on here, but I don't want to beat people over the head with it. Like, whether you're one of my Christian buddies or not, I don't you're all right with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And my job is to just, like you said, kind of plant the seeds. And then the Bible says, if they seek me, you'll find me. So if that's something that gets into that person's heart because they're listening to this podcast, like I hope that's the case. But your story and your dark times that you went through are incredible, and a really good testament to why hunting is kind of a perfect thing to bring people like that through. Because I think about, I've only gotten to hunt in the West once. I elk hunted in Colorado a couple of years ago, like a little public land drop camp or whatever, and had a blast. But I remember getting to the end of that week and being like, I don't really need to do this again. It's hard, and and I haven't done it yet, but not because I don't want to.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it's really like I got to have 4 days off to drive out there. You know what I mean? And then like a week to hunt out. So I'm taking 2 weeks off of work, which is not all that easy all the time to get that long of a stretch. But I appreciate it, and when I have the opportunity, I'm going to go back.
Yeah.
But I remember getting to the end of that week and being like, yeah, this is hard, and
dude, it is hard.
Yeah. But it
is hard.
You get through that week. When you're talking about when you get through that week, it's like you have about 2 weeks removed from that, and you're like, all right, now I'm going to start buying preference points. When am I going back? Kind of thing.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So how does coming through those times that you went through, how does that relate to a hard hunt? How does hard hunting help bring you through something like that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think anything in life that's worthwhile is hard, pretty much, and like, and just like using fitness as an example, but also, which I think is a really good picture, physical fitness is really a picture of like spiritual fitness as well. It's that concept of progressive overload, right? Like, and it sounds maybe cliche, but like, just teaching my daughter to ride her bike, like, first thing you got to do is start with the training wheels on, build your leg strength up, build your confidence up, and then like just progressively, or start with a light barbell squat, and then it just progressively get heavier and progressively get harder. So that's a big thing, is growth takes place in discomfort, right? And that might sound like a cliche, but it's just so true. Like, you don't become a better person by resting on your laurels and staying home. I mean, yeah, in the moment it's less scary to stay home and watch a YouTube video, and hopefully that might scratch the itch a little bit, and it's a lot less work and a lot less expensive. But when you're on your deathbed, you're going to remember that elk hunt, even if it was terrible and it rained for 4 days and you saw only one elk and you barfed because you were sick from the you're still going to remember it. That's an experience, and you probably grew from it. And if you're able to string a couple of those together, like and learn, you will get better and you will improve. And so I don't know about necessarily tying my personal dark times and difficulties to a hard hunt. It's kind of hard to do that, but I just think that like it's worth it to try. I think and again, I feel like I'm saying a lot of cliches here, but if there's guys here in the Virginia or in Pennsylvania or whatever that like you dream of that, doing that hunt, like, yeah, it's gonna be hard, you're gonna struggle, but use that as like motivation, as a tool to improve your life. I mean, so if you right now, let's say it's July 1, you book a hunt for, not even this year, could be this year, but it's kind of late now to book a hunt, but let's say you book a hunt for this year or for 2027. Like, now you got something to look forward to. You got all that time to improve your skills with your weapon, to get in shape, to get your gear dialed, to maybe plan a couple range days / training, hike, camping trip things with your buddy or whatever. Like, I feel like one of the main things that make everyone thinks like difficulties, hardships in life, or like make you sad or make you depressed or make your life bad. I feel like really like the most dangerous thing for men today in our society is like not having a challenge to meet. Like not having a mission, not having a goal. And so, back in the day, I'm talking about a long time ago, like you had to go out to war, or you had to go out to feed your family, or you had to go, like it was much easier. And so, not easier, but it was like there was more opportunity that like forced you into doing these hard, crazy things. And then when you came home, it was like, oh, this is awesome. And it's totally different when you're like, it's like hunting. But now our lives, and it's good in some ways, but our lives are so safe and comfortable, which is fine. Like, we're blessed to live in a safe, comfortable country. You don't have to worry about your kids getting, blown up every day. It's amazing. But now we kind of have to, as men, force ourselves into these situations.
Yeah.
Even though it might be a little uncomfortable, and to awaken that man in you that needs to come out, that is going to be I believe, a better father, a better person, a better man. So like, let's say you're listening to this and you're addicted to watching porn or something like that, or and you're maybe 35 pounds overweight, you eat like garbage, you aren't being the kind of guy you want your son to look at and be like, oh, I want to be that guy. Yeah. Okay, I think you can book a hunt in a year and a half from now and use that. And again, I'm not saying like that hunting is going to change your life necessarily. It needs to be a part of the equation, but like, use that as your goal and then start working towards first getting right with God and cleaning up that. And then, get in shape, start eating right, be the kind of guy that like you want your son to look at and be like, man, my dad is cool. Like, yeah. Like, I can tell, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but like, I can tell my son is 11, thinks I'm cool. Yeah. And like, the guy I was 10 years ago, he would not think is cool. Right. And I would have been terrible dad. So, force yourself into a hard situation and recreate that manhood, and like, book the hunt. And doesn't have to be the ultimate goal is not necessarily a dead trophy animal. Right. If that's your goal, maybe if that's your only goal, maybe like, I don't know, like, get something fully guided on a private property, completely like, tall, high fence, feeders, I don't know, whatever. Yeah. I don't care. Like, that's fine. Like, I don't, like, there are situations where that's how people hunt, and I don't care. I'm going to do a hunt this year that's in that type of, not high fence, but a feeder situation. Like, some places in Texas, that's how they hunt. Yeah. Or other places. Anyway, that's a side trail. What I'm saying is, your ultimate goal is the experience and your betterment. And yes, of course, you want to fill a tag too, but like, maybe intentionally don't make it so easy on yourself, because also that's going to incur more costs. So if you're talking about from your perspective, like, do it real Spartan, like, maybe save up a couple points. I always tell guys to, if you're starting, start with the antelope hunt, save up like 3-4 points or whatever, go out to Wyoming. There's tons of antelope out there, camp, like, stay, like, immerse yourself in the situation. Maybe you want to do something a little more challenging. Maybe you get a mule deer tag or an elk tag. I would, if you're starting, maybe start with mule deer. But yeah, just put yourself in a hard situation, even if it's public land, even if it's real Spartan. Like, if you can't afford a guide or whatever, who cares? Go out there and just like spend a week hiking around looking. You'd be surprised what you can find, probably. Yeah, absolutely. But anyway, that's kind of what I got.
That's so valid, and that's kind of what I was looking for. Is kind of the goal of motivation, because it is kind of what brings you out of things. And like you said, when you set that goal, you have the mindset of like, I got to get these things right to get to that goal. And it's so true with pretty much any hunting you do. You can use it as a goal, because it just depends on how you do it. Like, if I'm here at home, I love your pack out pictures, dude. And it's one thing that's like, it's one of my favorite parts of bow hunting whitetails is if if I have a 1/4 mile rule, if I'm further than a 1/4 mile, it gets packed out. But nice. Most of the time I'm a couple miles in, and I'm not, packing an animal out on your back with all your gear. It's not that easy. And it's still a good reason to set a goal, even if you haven't made it away from home. Yeah. So there's things like that. I think totally. Something else.
Just on that note too, I mean, guys on the East Coast, like right here in Virginia, you can still hike your happy butt 4 miles into a wilderness area in the Blue Ridge Mountains and have an adventure just as cool without the drive time and less expense. You know, it is a tough hunt. I will not lie. Like, the deer density is kind of low in there, but you can have a sick adventure right in your home state too, pretty much no matter where you are.
Yeah. And it really doesn't even have to be like, it doesn't have to be big game. Like, if you've got a dog and you like to do that and grouse is your thing, you can find hard places to hunt grouse that are almost impossible to find in PA, I mean, Virginia.
Dude, that's just my like filter because I love big game, obviously. But I mean, dude, freaking pack your 22, go on a 3-day like just exploration hike / squirrel hunt. Like that would be sick.
Get some clay nuke, bring your mule, you know. I think it's cool for there are actually some young people that listen to this, and I hope that you always kind of hope that your story tells a young person like, oh, well, maybe I should avoid things like this and start doing this early. You talked about dove hunting with your dad early and your 870 20 gauge. I got a hand-me-down Mossberg 20 gauge. And it was really too big, but I was really good with it, you know, at 12 years old. I feel like when you're 12, you can shoot anything, you know? And it's kind of like, I always say that bluegills are the gateway to the outdoors, you know, fishing little bluegills and stuff, but doves are a really good way to bring kids into it. And I see this pattern a lot where kids like, oh yeah, I went hunting, I did small game and got infatuated with deer hunting and we dove hunted all the time. And then I went to college and it kind of drifted off. And then I was brought back to it later on if they come back to hunting, to using it as a tool. But it's kind of like, if you relate it to life, I think that part where you kind of drift away from it kind of goes back into life. And I think it would be good to help kids. What I really hope when I get to teach young people, you know, I helped run a youth event and that was my first kind of time doing that kind of thing, like shooting clays or whatever. But I hope what those kind of things do are bring kids into the fold and like, hey, I don't want to stop doing this. You know what I mean? I want to keep kind of pushing forward with that kind of thing. And I think people like you and me, I hope that we can give them the motivation to keep going through things like that. But what is it that you see with youth? What would you tell them on how to stick with things to make the future life better for them? Because they might be looking at this now and, like I said, saying, hey, well, I'd like to avoid that dark time in life. How do I avoid that?
For sure. It was funny while you were saying that. I never thought about this before, but you were talking about like drifting away, and I'm not necessarily saying that these things are 100% locked in, although maybe they are. But like, if you look at like a graph of like, one's like closeness, one line is closeness with God, and one line is hunting. They both went down. I was drifting away from God in college, and then also simultaneously I was doing that same drifting away towards the outdoors. And then now, like, the more I've gotten involved with the outdoors, it's like come back. The two lines correlate. I'm not 100% saying they're like locked in together, but take that for what it is. When you said drifting away from the outdoors, it reminded me like also a lot of people drift away from God like during that time of their lives, and I certainly did. I still had it deep in me, that urge to like go out and hunt. Just like I still believed in God, no matter how bad things got and how far I was not like living a godly life. Like I still believed in God. I still knew like he loved me and all that stuff. I just wasn't living the right way. But I would still, you know, hungover or whatever, drag myself out to the mountains and sit on a stand at least a couple times a year, you know, through the worst times in college and stuff like that. And that was, you know, public land hunting out there, where I went to college in the mountains, and actually did see a couple deer, actually shot a couple deer, but it was very half-hearted. And so was my walk with God at that time. So I would say, you know, and this is kind of something I was thinking about in relation to that last question as well, but I think relates to this one. You know, start small. Don't what does it say? Don't despise humble beginnings. I think that's from the Bible. Like, as you were saying, bluegill are a gateway to the outdoors, or dove or whatever. Start small. Or like, people might look, I don't know if your listeners have seen any of my stuff or heard of my stuff, but if you were a person that just kind of came across my content right now, you'd be like, oh, this guy is like, he's doing all this crazy stuff. Like, but if you really go back, and if you've been listening to me from the beginning, like, I started knowing nothing, and I still don't know that much, but like, I started knowing nothing. And I was very open about that from the beginning. I still don't claim to be like I have learned a lot just by doing a lot of hunting for the past 5 years, but like, I still don't claim to be some amazing hunter at all. And especially at the beginning, knew nothing. Coming from the East Coast and starting to hunt out West is a lot. It's a big, learning curve. So starts like, I was just thinking, like what we were talking about earlier. So the first public land, like anything I did, I just had this urge in me to go do something. I called up my cousin. We went on like a 2 or 3 day weekend camping deer hunt here in Virginia. Just like I said, it's a wilderness area in the western part of the state. We truck camped, very low key. And it's actually a pretty hilarious story. Actually, I think it's the first episode of my podcast. If you go back, I tell a story. I was using my great uncle's old 30-30, and just to give you some clickbait to go listen to the whole story, I accidentally shot a hole through the floorboard of my truck with the rifle while unloading it. And almost got stuck on the mountain. Anyway, and we almost quit at that point, went home, almost disabled the vehicle. Anyway, debacle, but then we stuck it out. We hunted the next day, and I shot a deer. And it was a tiny little deer, but I was so happy and proud of that thing because we, stuck through the adversity. It was my first public land hunt, first camping hunt, first public land, big game animal. Like, so, and that was the beginning. And then, the next year, I think it was, that same cousin, his dad had always dreamed of going out west doing an antelope hunt, but kind of, small town Midwestern guy, just never made it happen. I got the whole group together, got my dad, my cousin, and my cousin's dad. I bought all their Wyoming preference points, got us all a point. I showed them how to apply, got us all together. We all applied. My dad never hunted out west. My cousin never. And the whole thing, and this is all stuff I learned from my friend on that first hunt. I got my cousin his rifle. We set it up together. I showed him how to mount the scope. We dialed it in. I led the group out there, and that was one of the most memorable hunts of my entire life. And I did film it. I think I have. Yeah, the film is on my YouTube. It's one of the first things I ever put out. The kill shot on my antelope is terrible because my cousin was shooting it, and he had like the camera's settings were just completely jacked. But I said, whatever, I put the video out anyway. But it was so memorable just being together, going out there, figuring it out together. My cousin shot a doe antelope. I shot a nice buck. And just super rewarding. And so anyway, that I just wanted to show, like, to start small. So like, and get your friends involved. Like maybe, if you're in college, it might not sound super fun to wake up, by yourself super early on a Saturday and go hike into the mountains. Maybe that does sound fun. If so, you're probably a killer already. But if not, grab a couple of your buddies that are outdoor inclined. Say, hey, let's go camping for the weekend. I got a couple 22s or a 20 gauge. I'm going to keep going back to squirrel because that's just easy, or whatever. Birds. I don't know much about bird hunting. That's why I'm not talking about bird hunting, but could be birds, squirrels, whatever. It could be deer, whatever. Grab some buddies, go camping. Don't take it super seriously. I think that's one thing, especially I fall into that trap, is like, and I'm actually trying to work on it, is like, I get like so focused on the mission of like filling that tag that like I can even like take away from the enjoyment. But just like, keep it fun, keep it low key, and do some stuff like that. That could be a good way to keep yourself going through college. So anyway, yeah.
That's Those are all really good points. And what you just said is falling into traps in hunting is really easy, especially because we have social media, and I have the love-hate relationship with social media because
Oh yeah.
I got to meet you because of social media, and I get to see cool things because of social media, and I get to share what I do because of social media. And without it, it's not that there wouldn't be a way to figure it out because we did, uh, when we were young, it was Drury and Realtree, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And Monster Bucks and Primo's Truth DVDs, all that
And I
kind of stuff.
bet they were dudes back then saying, these hunting VHSs are ruining the game.
Oh,
You
100%.
know?
There were,
Yeah.
there were, and like just that's not reality, and it's not relatable. It's relatable to somebody, and like you said, if you go and watch your like some people might say, well, like Hunter McWaters stuff is really unreachable for me. And it's not, because you didn't start just, you know, ripping access deer and elk and mule deer and all that kind of stuff from ground zero. Like you had to work your
Nope.
way up to that and make
Yeah,
it a
it was
life.
totally normal East
Yeah.
Coast dude.
Yeah. Kind of make it a life mission. But it's easy to fall into the traps now because we have social media of like,
Yes.
well, I have to kill a big buck or I won't get noticed, or I have to shoot 100 ducks this year, or whatever it happens to be. And sometimes when you fall into those traps, the other parts can also suffer because you kind of like you said, in the dark times in your life, the drifting away from hunting and drifting away from God kind of happen simultaneously.
Yeah.
But it's easy to kind of separate hunting and God too when you get into it and you fall into one of those traps where hunting's going up and God's kind of either taking a little dip or maintaining,
For sure.
So
you can make it your idol just like anything else.
Yeah. So how do you stay in the proper mindset and the proper like how do you spend time on your knees just making sure that you're not falling into the trap and keeping your mind on God as well as you are on hunting?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I mean, and in all honesty, one I'm still figuring out. But I did learn a lot this year. In the past, like I said, I get ultra focused on the mission, which is a blessing, also a curse sometimes. And not just in hunting, but in my life. Like I say I want to start something or do something, like I'm 110%, like to the point where I'm obsessed, and that's how I've been able to build this thing I got now. But so there are positives to it, but also you have to keep it in check. And so a lot of times I would get on these hunts and just be freaking out, and until eventually kind of the circumstances would sort of bring you to your knees, figuratively or literally, or both. And you're just kind of like, you know what? This happened to me on many of my hunts in the beginning. And you just get to this point where it's just like, oh, I can't do this. Like, I need you, God. And I give it up to you, and kind of like, it's another cliche, but let go and let God. And then the next day, boom, it happens. And so that's how it was in the beginning. It was like, the circumstances had to like bring me to my knees to the point where I had to rely on God. But I don't want to get to that place anymore. Like, I want to, because what happened was I found, like, and especially for me too, like, everybody has pressure on themselves when they go hunting. Like, you took off your vacation, you spent all this money, you got pressure. Me, I got a show to produce. I got sponsors that, and my sponsors are great. They're never like, oh, you got to kill every time. Like, no, they're not like that.
Yeah.
But still, like, a hunting show needs successful hunts. And I go on about 6 or 7 hunts a year. Usually I don't kill on one, which is pretty dang good. But still, there's one that you don't. Yeah. Right. And where was I going at? Oh yeah. But that pressure, like you were saying, can actually do the opposite of what you want, which is to use hunting in the outdoors to better yourself, right? even if it's just, to and have an awesome, cool adventure for a week. Like, it doesn't have to be some lofty, giant thing. But,
Yeah.
and I was getting to the point where I was really like, a couple times like this year, like miserable, like just because I was just forgetting to have fun and enjoy life and enjoy God and enjoy God's creation. One hunt specific I can think about, and I was like the end of like a week of hunting, and I walked and I looked, and there's like this beautiful mountain with like this mist coming over the top of it, and these big conifer trees, and it's like blue, and I was like, that is really pretty. And that was like the first time I'd even like noticed any natural beauty after like 6 or 7 days.
Yeah.
And ended up on that hunt too, I missed a really nice buck. It still stings. Like, found this buck, public land, my spot, everything, and I missed him. And still stings. But I realized that pressure was taking me away from God and taking me away from enjoying the experience. And I had a really good friend with me who like told me straight up, he's like, dude, you are ruining this. You're gonna ruin this. Like, you need to chill. So I've been doing a lot of like soul searching and interior work on that, and then kind of the first test of that was that axis hunt, which you alluded to earlier in Texas. And again, this is a quote unquote, I've never had an easy hunt, but quote unquote easier hunt. It was a 3-day hunt. It was on private lands, Texas. Everything's private land. No high fence, no feeders, but there were feeders on the property, but we weren't hunting feeders. Yeah. But anyway, quote unquote easier hunt. It's not a 9-day public land mountain mule deer hunt or something. It's an easier hunt, but still, like, it turned out to be a lot harder than we were expecting. Like, some weather came in, and we were putting about 8-9 miles a day on foot, and way more than that in the vehicles, and deer weren't really cooperating. And we ended up shooting that buck literally 5 to 10 minutes before dark, like before legal light was out, which in Texas is dark because they're invasive. But on the last day, like the last 10 minutes of the hunt on the last day. And the whole time I was just having to remind myself, like, hey, enjoy the experience, have fun, have faith, hey, and speak it. Like, we're going to get one. Like, I'm not worried about it. We're going to get one. And that's a whole nother kind of topic, but there was a moment when we were like, it was like the second to last spot we could check before the hunt ended. At this point, I'm literally formulating my speech in my head of like, oh, well, you can't get one every time, like say to the camera. I'm literally writing it in my head as we're walking, like, and then I just look over and there's this big rainbow, and I was like, yeah. And like every time I see a rainbow, something goes down pretty quick after. We had literally one more spot to check. That buck was in there, and we made it happen, or and God made it happen. So I'm working on that, but I think a lot of it comes down to remember why you're ultimately there. Is an adventure. It's an experience. It's, hopefully you'll kill something. You might not. But if you make that the crux of whether it was a success or not, it will ruin. And I know, I heard people say this so many times, but the words can fall flat sometimes. It's almost something you just have to experience through life happening to, but you can try at least, and maybe some people can do a better job than I did, to mentally put yourself in the space of, I'm going to go enjoy this time, maybe with family or friends. Focus on the beauty of the landscape, focus on being present in the moment, and like enjoying God's creation, communing with God. And these are all like things that, we could do a whole podcast on every little thing I'm just talking about right now, but like learning to like listen to God, shut your mind down, ask God to speak to you. Just listen to the sound of the birds. Don't worry about anything. Just be with him. Like, God, I just want to hang out with you for a second, even if it's 5-10 minutes. Just enjoying the whole thing and looking at it as an adventure, not as I got to go kill something. And usually that will end up in higher success anyway than, like you alluded to earlier, if you're just freaking out the whole time, stressing out, like running to the glassing knob, and you probably busted 5 deer on the way there you didn't even see. Then if you kind of slow down, enjoy, take in, really try to commune with nature, which is also God, like, so yeah, that's part of it.
Yeah, that's it. Oh man, I love this podcast is a lot of fun, man. The I think the one cool thing that you brought up is that you were talking about missing animals and kind of just getting knocked on your butt.
Mm-hmm.
I remember kind of like going through the same thing. Like I had a year where it was like I was like, oh, you know, I was riding a lot at the time, and I'm like, I'm not seeing a lot of deer on camera, and I'm having enough trouble finding like the sign that I normally find in this area. And we ended up finding a couple real good bucks, and I was chasing one specifically, and like, there's probably little chance I'm going to see this deer. He's pretty visible most of the time. It's at night, and I don't. It was sometime in the beginning of November. I was hunting this deer, and I don't same thing like you. You kind of said you're sitting there, you took in some of the scenery and just said, "This is so beautiful." And I remember kind of the same thing, like saw a little buck in the morning, grunted some deer in, and kind of just enjoying that part. And I'm like, man, you're really forgetting to like you've made it all the way to November, and you've just had a frustrating bow season because you're just so worried about
Yeah.
seeing big bucks and seeing this kind of stuff. And kind of right at that moment, um, when I had those thoughts, this buck dropped off a hill, and it was this buck I was chasing. He was like 145-inch 10
Nice.
pointer, and he worked a scrape, came over. I thought he was coming into a lane that I ranged at 20, and he was at 30, and I like clipped his brisket. Ended up trying to get a dog. Found him the next day, but he was very alive,
Oh.
and it kind of like knocks you on your butt a little bit. Then you like kind of feel like a little deflated, but it puts things into perspective. Like I spent all this time chasing this deer to have fun, and I didn't. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
And then you kind of get back to why you did have fun. I shot the smallest buck that year with my rifle that I'd shot in a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and it was fun.
Yeah.
Because after that, I kind of just was like, you just need to relax. And
Yeah.
you kind of like dig into God and remember those things that made you start to enjoy it in the last place, and why hunting lined up with God for you,
Yeah.
So I think that was something that was really cool that you brought up. But one thing that you mentioned too is you kind of go into things with a positive attitude and saying like, we're going to kill one. Sometimes you say, I'm going to kill one today because you just want to maintain the positive attitude in your mind. But I feel like a lot of the days where I've killed an animal, I can go out and say, today I'm killing one today. And like, you
Mm-hmm.
kind of actually know, but you can't know for sure. You just believe that, but you kind of know, you got that gut feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think something like that for you comes from? Because sometimes it's just like you want to have faith and believe that it's going to happen. But then there's part of you that's like, I don't have to wonder. I know,
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, any and this goes to like life in general. And I think that's one thing that's great about hunting is because it's kind of like a microcosm for life. A lot of things that you kind of learn on a small scale on a day-to-day basis hunting like can be related back to life. But I mean, anytime I have like when God speaks, it's that small voice in your gut,
Mm-hmm.
usually.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you have any kind of intuition like that, like, yeah, that could be the Holy Spirit, like telling you. Um, and something I've been learning a lot lately too. You know, it says in the Bible, it says, when you pray for something, believe that you have received it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't doubt in your heart, like it's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so the new age community and, witchcrafty people have adopted this same thing. They call it manifestation.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, like, the power of God is mechanical. These principles work, and also the enemy counterfeits things. But
Yep.
like people a lot of times hear the faith message, like name it, claim it, or whatever, and they think, oh, that's either crazy, charismatics, or that's like new agey, but that's because the new age people stole it from God. Don't let them have it. That's Jesus said that way before any of these weird hippies did. So, like he said, when you pray for something in my name and you believe you've received it, you will. Now, how and when is a question. And that doesn't mean that you can literally just go out and be like, all right, Lord, I'm going to get this today. And like, it's always going to happen. Like sometimes the how and when is different, or I don't know how it works all the time. But, and that's something I think too, is like when we pray for something, we want to see like it happen like instantly, like right then. So you can like be like, that was definitely, but that's not always how it works. Like sometimes God does it in different ways. And of course, also, if you're just asking God, I want $1 million in a Lamborghini, like maybe he'll give it to you, but probably not. Like, if you're not working towards that or something, like, so there's different nuances to it. Like, I don't want people to think it's as just black and white, but, I do still believe God's word is true, and Jesus wouldn't say that if it's not true. So there is a huge instrumentality component to faith, meaning actually having faith does things in the real world. So that's, I believe that, and I live my life like that. And so, yeah, again, there's more nuance to it. But that's, and I don't even know if that's like touching on your original question at all.
No, that's a really good explanation.
Yeah. But like faith works. Sometimes it's different. Usually it's different than how we expect or want in the moment. But having faith actually does work.
Yeah. You mentioned kind of like when I think it could be a guy thing, or it could be an ADHD thing, or I don't know, but, when you decide you're going to do something new, you're kind of all in. So like you're going to pick the bow back up this year. And I know you're super jacked about it. And I'm sure there's going to be plenty of Hunter McWaters content that's awesome with a bow, but
hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. But I think a lot of us that hunt are like that, especially if you really start to get bit by the bug,
Yeah.
What do you do to keep yourself in check to make sure that you continue to have fun doing it? And then what do you do to kind of actually, I don't really think kind of being balls to the wall on it is really a bad thing,
Yeah.
I think it can kind of help you in other areas of your life, make sure that you're kind of completing tasks and not leaving things unfinished, whether it's, you mowed your lawn, but you didn't weed whack, as simple as that,
Yeah.
So what is it for you that keeps you in check when it's the all in kind of thing?
Definitely my wife helps keep me in check. Like she'll let me know if I'm like obsessing about something. And like I said, like it can be a negative if you don't keep it in check. But I do believe it is a good, I mean, if you want to be excellent, if you want to be extraordinary, like you kind of have to be obsessed, honestly. There's a quote I like, I can't remember who said it, but it's like, extraordinary people are ordinary people who do things an extraordinary amount of times. So like, I'm not a great hunter, but like compared to most guys on the East Coast, I'm a pretty good Western hunter. Like the wall behind me can kind of show a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not because I was born a great hunter. I may have been a little bit, have some proclivities, and, I got started young, but that's just because like I've spent a lot of time doing it and like obsessing over it. 5 years, 6 years, I've been pretty much eating, sleeping, breathing, working Western hunting. That's it. Obviously, I've been able to keep my wife from leaving me, and my kids still love me. So you do have to have some balance.
Yeah.
But I think, like you said, as long as you are staying in balance and staying in check, it's okay, because if you want to be extraordinary at something, you have to be obsessed with it. Like I would not be working with Garmin and Browning and Leupold and Onyx and all these amazing companies if I was not obsessed. And like, yesterday I was editing an episode and I spent probably an hour and a half on a 30-second part of a video, maybe more.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 hours to get it freaking perfect. And because I love it. It's right. I like it. And I take pride in that. And that's why these brands are willing to like sign off on their logo being on my video, because I am obsessed with making it look awesome.
Right.
But you got to step back too at times, and obviously there's a line there. I feel like your family will let you know if you're feeling friction from your wife, from your kids. If you feel that deep down like little sense of guilt, that's God telling you, okay, take a break, go hang out with your kids. So your family will let you know, and then also you have to be able to examine yourself, and part of that comes from spending that one-on-one time with God and examining yourself and making sure that you are having some balance, that while you can be obsessed with one thing, are you still giving the amount of time that you need to your family? Are you still giving to your fitness? Are you still giving to your relationship with God, to keep things in line? So and that brings me to one thing I wanted to mention too earlier, like I was talking about having that communion with God. Like, so if you never spend any time with God, and then you expect you're just going to walk into the woods on an elk hunt and be like, just hearing from God and like so close. Like, no, it's like anything in life. Like, you got to train, practice, build some neural pathways in your brain. So as you're training for that hunt and getting your gear right and and working on that flat tire around your gut, start training your your closeness, your walk with God too. Like, and so how I do that is just go for outside in the morning before it gets hot and stuff gets crazy. Go for a walk, just a mile walk, and just like focus on being in the moment. Like, listen to the birds, say, hey God, I'm listening. Like, I'm here. Talk to me. Don't worry about the crap you got to do later in the day. Just for that 20 minutes, 10 minutes, just say, hey, I want to hang out with you, God. Speak to me, or we can just hang out, whatever. And then there's also time to pray where we're actually speaking. This is like listening prayer. So like just start training that, so that when you go on that hunt, it's not the first time you're trying to like hear from God or be close with God. So you're like, okay, and then you can take that into that experience, just like you would fitness or having your gear, your rifle ready. Now your spirit's ready to commune with God too on that trip.
Yeah, I love that, dude. So this has been an awesome podcast. There's so much that you could really like you said, we could have a podcast on each little tidbit of some of the stuff that you've talked about. But what's on your mind for this fall, man? I know, like, I want to talk a little bit about the bow. What are you going to do with it? What are you excited about?
Yeah, so I'm starting small. I was gonna like go like I said, like go 110% and like go on a early season like high country mule deer or something, which I still want to do that because it looks sick. But I said let's start small. I'm also like coming off that hunt from last year that still has a bad taste in my mouth, and still really trying to focus myself on all that stuff I've been talking about, enjoying, not freaking out, not putting too much pressure on myself. So I actually like even built out my year a little more chill than I have in the past. Like, so I'm doing 2 hunts this year that are like pretty like new as far as like my content, and like way more relaxed than like a 9-day backcountry muzzleloader hunt in Utah like that I did last year. That was just a grind fest. Awesome hunt, but just like such a grinder. So starting small with that one. That one's gonna be, and that one's close to home too, which I've never even done an East Coast hunt on my show.
Very cool.
So I'm doing a Sika deer hunt over in Maryland.
Nice.
I have a friend of my dad's who owns a ton of land over there, and I'm gonna do a combination. Hopefully they'll be there. I'm having faith they will. Right there, faith. That the teal will be in the area. So it'll be a September teal combo Sika bow hunt. on the Eastern Shore of Maryland. That should be really cool. August, just I'll run these through. August, I'm going back to Kodiak Island, which was the first hunt film I ever made was on Kodiak Island.
Nice.
Self-filmed it, and this will be kind of a cool full circle moment. I'm taking a friend of mine who has never killed a deer before.
Nice.
So that's gonna be really fun. September, doing that archery, seek a deer, and waterfowl combo. October, looking forward to this. Going to do, my family will be out of town, so I got a little extra time. So normally I fly to hunts to save time, but I'm actually going to drive out to Montana, like just for fun, basically, and be kind of convenient to have my truck. But take it slow. I'm talking like maybe 4 or 5 days drive out there just because I can.
That's awesome.
And I have a big game combo tag. So I'm gonna spend like 5 or 6 days. Hopefully, a buddy's gonna meet me out there. 5 or 6 days looking for elk in western Montana. If it's not happening, I need a break. I'll probably drive to eastern Montana and look for a deer if we haven't killed an elk. And then November, I'm doing my first ever whitetail hunt on the show, which would be really cool. My buddy from Garmin invited me to, and we're doing like a combination again. Whitetail and then duck hunt in Missouri. And it's gonna be like during the rut. So like I'm really looking forward to, I've always wanted to do like a Midwest whitetail hunt. I haven't. And so that's gonna be a lot of fun. Again, like much more chill than kind of my normal stuff. And then December I'm gonna do another desert mule deer hunt DIY. And then I drew a Barbary sheep tag in New Mexico in February.
Oh, that's sweet.
Which should be cool. So I've hunted Aoudad before, but not in New Mexico.
Very cool.
And that would be with a buddy of mine too. So but as far as what I'm working on, I kind of got on a sidetrack there. But I kind of made my schedule a little more chill. And then I'm working on enjoying the experiences, not putting too much pressure on myself, not freaking out, not because that leads to making dumb mistakes like missing deer or bad judgment calls. Enjoying, having fun, trying to spend time with some friends that I'm inviting this year on trips. Be able to enjoy a sunrise and spend time with, because everyone's always like, oh, you spend a lot of time outside. I bet like, you spend so much time with God. And like actually on hunts, like I don't, like I'm so focused on the animals that like I don't, like I spend much more time with God when I'm back home. I want to try to change that a little bit. Like, be able to enjoy the sunrise and spend, not like, where's the deer? Like, why am I not seeing deer? Blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, who cares? Listen to the birds for 5 minutes. Like, look around you, enjoy, pray a little. Like, so I'm gonna try to do that, not freak out, not put pressure on myself, and just have a good season.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. Yeah, the hunting thing, when you gotta like keep your mind in it all the time, it can be challenging to talk to God during a hunt. That's probably why I like hunting out of a saddle so much, because you do have a lot of downtime that way. But
that's true.
It is important, I think, to balance those hunts and have a real grind and have one that's like probably not so that way.
Yeah. And I spent the last 5 years almost every hunt like a grind, and like I think there's a season and a time for everything. And I think, I did need to, as an East Coast guy stepping into the Western hunting space, I did need to go prove that I can do it. And I can kill animals on public land in the mountains. Like these brands need to see that like I can actually do it. And I need to establish myself. And again, I'm giving all glory to God, but now is, I think, a season of, not that I'm going to quit or like back off. I'm still doing some really like tough backcountry mountain hunts, but not every single hunt has to be a freaking grind fest.
Yeah. I think sometimes the hunting industry misses the boat, because if you look at it, if you look at fans of YouTube channels or influencers or whatever that are Western hunters, there are probably like 5 times the amount of hunters on the East Coast. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
The number of hunters that we have in every state on the East Coast probably outweighs the number of hunters out that way. And
100%.
sometimes it's living vicariously, and sometimes our guys are like, I wish I could do something like this close to home, and they kind of miss out on like, hey, like we have some pretty cool states that you might be able to get to in under 10 hours. And
100%. And
you know,
and I think some of the YouTube numbers show that too, because I mean, if you look at a guy like, I don't know, like Remy Warren or something, who's like, one of the best hunters alive right now, or like Brian Barney, or like some of these guys. But then like, the hunting public has like way more subscribers. To your point, like it's relatable. It's the most guys are whitetail hunters east of the Mississippi. I mean, that's the biggest chunk of the white. So, you are right. And it's weird the way the hunting industry is. It's kind of broken up east and west.
Yeah.
And, a lot of most of the money in population is in whitetail and turkey, because that's where most of the people are.
Yep.
I just love I love whitetail and deer too. Don't get me wrong, but like I was just attracted to something new, something different, something aspirational, something challenging. But I'm still looking really forward to getting back into. I still love. Like I said, I still love whitetail. I'm still looking forward to getting back into doing some more stuff like that. I'm really looking forward to it. But yeah, you're totally right, man. So yeah,
I mean, it's all aspirational. I think it's cool that somebody from the East Coast. I think it's cool when guys say like, "Hey, I can go out there and kill stuff too,"
Oh, yeah.
And maybe it makes it. There's a lot of people that definitely can't afford it, and maybe it makes it, inspire them to do something cool that's close to home that they can afford.
100%. 100%. Like I said, I think in Pennsylvania, Virginia, wherever you are, drive like 3 or 4 hours west, hit the mountains, you can have a pretty sick adventure.
Yeah,
and the mountains here are just as rugged.
Yeah,
maybe not as tall, but they're just as rugged.
Exactly. But you don't have to. I guess my point is we're talking about challenging yourself and kind of using hunting to make a goal for yourself. It does not have to be you don't have to be like, I'm going on a moose hunt in Alaska you don't have to do that. You can there's plenty of rugged places here that you could make a goal for yourself to make it like 100%. That and replicate it. If it's not affordable for you, or you think it's not relatable for you at this time, like it's doable.
There are places, I would say 3 or 4 hours from my house right now, where you could hike in and you will not see another living soul.
Yeah.
For 10 days if you want to. Like there's for sure. I remember that first hunt I was talking about to you, which we did in the mountains of Virginia, like the one where I shot my truck. I spent like months like, oh, this is gonna be so sick looking at these like wilderness zones and stuff. And like we get there and like we're like, oh, dude, we're not hiking into that. Like, it was like now with a little bit more mountain experience, I probably would, but like you can get as rugged as you want in your home state, most likely.
Yeah, so. For sure. And you can, I just think it's all kind of like, it can all be relatable, even if you don't think it is. I can take something from your rugged hunt in Utah and use it here in PA to find what I want to find. So
100%. And yeah, you can talk to God just as easy on your 20-minute walk through your neighborhood, maybe arguably easier than on a mountain chasing an elk in Colorado or something.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. Dude, thank you so much for coming on. I'm gonna not take too much more of your time because I know
thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, I know you got some good video content for us to be all able to see here. But
yeah, first episodes from season 4 are launching July 9th. First season from it'll be a 3-part caribou hunt in Alaska that I did with Eberly Stock. It's a really cool hunt. So
that's cool. Where do you want people to look for you at?
Yeah, if you just search my name, Hunter McWaters, on YouTube, that's the best way. There's a couple other channels that have similar names to mine that make it kind of confusing. So just search Hunter McWaters on YouTube, and it's called The Hunter's Quest because it's not my quest, although it is my quest. It's all of our quest as hunters. That's why it's The Hunter's Quest. It's kind of a play on words. But and then Instagram at The Hunter's Quest. And if you message me, I most likely will answer you, as you saw. So
yeah, for sure.
If guys want to get in touch with me, like I'm pretty accessible. So at The Hunter's Quest on Instagram.
Awesome. Dude, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
I'll
thank you, man.
I'll add your links in the show notes for people to be able to find them too. So
appreciate it.
All
Thanks
right.
for having me.
Yeah, buddy. Well, that's a wrap. Thanks so much for tuning in this week. You are an awesome audience, and I appreciate all of you. I hope you enjoyed Hunter. I hope you enjoyed his story. I hope it makes a difference in your life and you can make an impact on somebody else because you heard it today. So if you would, check out the link in the show notes to find Hunter's content, The Hunter's Quest on his YouTube. Find him on Instagram. Reach out, ask him questions. You can feel free to reach out and ask me questions as well. I'm at InCamp_podcast on Instagram or InCampPodcast@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to talk to you. Just as Hunter said, he's going to make the time to answer your questions and be there for the things that you need. But either way, we all are in this together. We all share a common bond. I'm glad you're here today. I'm glad you listened. This is InCamp Podcast.